Good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Bible class with Andre and Betty, and thank you for viewing with us. I say this from time to time to let you know that Andre and I do have prayer and devotion before we start videoing the lesson, and that gives me more time to discuss the lesson. So thank you all and welcome again to this class. We're in 2 Kings. We're continuing in the book of 2 Kings, and we're in chapter 5, and we'll be looking at the healing of Naaman. And the text will identify who Naaman is. And when we get to the New Testament in Luke chapter 4, Jesus will illustrate his teaching by reminding the religious leaders about how out of all the Gentiles in Syria, Naaman was the only one that was healed by Elisha, the successor of Elijah. So this we'll see the 10th and 11th miracles performed by Elisha in this chapter. So we're in 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. So he not only was he a great man and honorable, he was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. Now in Leviticus chapters 13 and 14 is a teaching about how Israelites who were lepers were treated and identified. But remember, this is a Gentile. Syria is a Gentile nation. So God didn't give these laws to Gentiles, and we'll see this as we go through the lesson. Verse 2. We're in 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 2. And the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid or a young girl, and she became servant unto Naaman's wife. And this little maid said in verse 3, and she said unto her mistress, would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. She's talking about Elisha, verse 4. And when she said that, and one went in and told his Lord, saying, thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed, that is Naaman, and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. Verse 6. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. Verse 7. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he tore his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel or a fight against me. So the king of Israel is reacting to what the king of Syria sent to him in the letter. Verse 8. And it was so, when Elisha, the man of God, had heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore or why hast thou torn thy clothes? Let him come now to me, let Naaman now come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. Verse 9. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariots, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. Verse 10. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. But, verse 11, Naaman was wroth, or he was enraged, and went away and said, Behold, I thought, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. I thought he was going to do it in a way, Naaman says, that's acceptable to me. And whenever in Scripture someone thought or supposed something, they were wrong. So, because God's thoughts are not our thoughts, nor his ways our ways. And so Naaman thought wrong, and he got enraged. And so, verse 12, Naaman says, Are not Abana and Par rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage, because it was not done the way he thought it should be done. Verse 13. And his servants came near and spake unto him, and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldst thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he said to thee, Wash and be clean? What could be greater than getting this leprosy healed? Verse 14, then went Naaman down, and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. This is the 10th miracle that Elisha performed, and this time on a Gentile. Verse 15. And he returned to the man of God. Naaman returned to the man of God, he and all his company are soldiers, and came and stood before him. And he said, Behold now, this is Naaman, now I know that there is no God in all the earth, but in Israel. Now, therefore, I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. He wanted to give him a present. Verse 16. But he said, Elisha said, As the Lord liveth before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Elisha continued to refuse. And Naaman said unto Elisha, shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules' burden of earth to establish a place for him to worship the Lord? He says, for thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offerings nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord. So previously he had been an idol worshiper, but upon experiencing the miracle of Elijah and the events to follow, he became a believer and said, I will worship no other God but the Lord. Verse 18, but he has a dilemma. So he says in verse 18, in this thing the Lord pardon thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, let the Lord pardon thy servant in this thing. This is my job. I'm a Syrian and I work for the king. So when I accompany him going to worship in the house of Rimmon, I'll have to bow down with him. But Lord, I'm praying that the Lord will forgive me. I do this only because this is my job. Verse 19. And Elisha said unto him, go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. And now Elisha's servant is going to sin against what he's coveting after. His servant is watching all the events that take place. So verse 20, but Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, behold, my master has spared Naaman this Syrian in not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. Verse 21, so Gehazi followed after Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he jumped down from the chariot to meet him, or he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, is all well? Verse 22, and he said, all is well. Now the lie. My master had sent me, saying, behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. Verse 23. And Naaman said, be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garment, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bare them before him. So he lied in order to get material wealth from what Elisha has refused as a gift. Verse 24. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hands. Gehazi took them the silver and the garments from the young men's hand, and bestowed them or placed them in the house. And he let the men go, so they departed. 25. But he went in and stood before his master. And Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou? Where did you go, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went nowhere. I didn't go anywhere. Verse 26. And Elisha said unto him, Went not my heart with thee when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Don't you know I'm a prophet of God, and I discern God speaks to me in my heart. So Elisha asked him, Is it a time to receive money and to receive garments and olive yards and vineyards and sheep and oxen and men servants and maid servants? This is not the time. Then verse 27, the leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and unto thy seed forever, your children. And he went out from his presence. Gehazi went out from Elisha's presence, a leper as white as snow. And in Leviticus chapter 13 and 14, as I said before, is the teaching about how and what to do about leprosy given to the nation Israel. But we see none of those instructions was given to Naaman because he was a Gentile. And as Gehazi goes out white as snow, in those teachings, if the leprosy covers the person from head to toe and they're completely filled with leprosy, they are pronounced clean by the priest who's examining him. And so even though he was a leper, he will continue to be the servant of Elisha. And all these will come out as we go through the chapters. So thank you all for listening. We'll be back next time if the Lord will. So you all have a great day and a great week. Bye.